Hi, and welcome back to this Thursday edition of Focal Point on AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. The program is Focal Point. Network is American Family Radio Talk Network. By the way, there's going to be a new Bible show, a series, a 10-part series is going to be airing on the History Channel starting on March 3rd. We've been having some internal dialogue here among leadership at AFA about this series because none of us have seen it. Apparently, there is a preview copy that's circulating around here somewhere. A couple of folks have had an opportunity to look at it, and I have not had a chance to see it. I looked at the trailer, and I got to be honest with you, it looks very good to me, even though this is going to be on the History Channel. And I've got a piece here in front of me from Fox News with featuring an interview with Mark Burnett and his wife Roma Downey, and they apparently are very strong Orthodox believers. Their Christianity is sound, it is solid, and they are producing this series with state-of-the-art computer graphics and so forth to introduce people to the Bible. It's part of their effort to deal with biblical illiteracy, which is a huge problem in our culture. And I looked at the trailer, which you can see on the web, and it looked very, very good to me. 5 segments in the Old Testament, 5 in the New, and of course, we're going to have to wait till it rolls out, but it looks like it might be actually a pretty good deal on the History Channel. I think Rick Warren is involved somehow in promoting the project. So you might look for that History Channel starting on March 3rd. The interesting thing with Ben Carson, remember, he's the neurosurgeon that spoke at Johns Hopkins, and the White House pestered him for an advance copy of his speech. They were actually nervous about what this guy was going to say. They were afraid of what this guy was going to say. They knew about him. They knew enough to know that this guy was dangerous, so they were pressing him, pestering him for an advance copy of his speech. And he said, I can't give you one. I don't write out my speeches. I don't use a teleprompter. I mean, talk about a zing. Ben Carson says to the White House, I can't give you an advance copy of my speech because I don't use a teleprompter. I don't write out my speeches. I can give you a list of the Bible verses that I'm going to use, and I'm going to build my remarks around these Bible verses, but that's all that he could send to them. Now, speaking of politics and the media, let's start with clip number 1. This story broke yesterday, and it's fierce among journalists in Washington, D.C. area in particular. Now, Bob Woodward has earned the wrath and the ire of the White House because he's telling the truth about the sequester. This sky is falling sequester. You heard Jeff Reed, auto engineer, beginning of the program, including those little sound bites from Chicken Little. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. It's going to be a horrible, no good, very bad day for the rest of our lives if this thing goes through. And Bob Woodward was saying, look, this was President Obama's idea. He dreamed this up. Jacob Lew was the one that brought this to the Republicans. His fingerprints are all over it. It was his idea. He pushed it. He pressed for it. When it got to his desk, he signed it in a heartbeat. And now he's out there campaigning against it. And the Obama administration, they're hacked. They're hacked at Bob Woodward because he's telling the truth about this. That's why they're hacked off at him, is he won't budge. He knows what happened. He knows his research is impeccable. He knows his sources are solid. It was in a book that came out last year, and there was no complaint. The White House never once complained about the entire section in Bob Woodward's book that dealt with the budget battle of 2011, out of which this sequester came. So Bob Woodward is clip number 1. He's on with Wolf Blitzer, CNN, and he says, look, you remember Richard Nixon? He was pilloried because he had an enemies list, mostly people in the media that he thought were out to get him. And when this enemies list surfaced, then everybody just went apoplectic that he had an enemies list, and what a horrible, terrible thing this was for a president to have an enemies list of people in the media. Well, it turns out that Barack Obama has his own enemies list, just like Richard Nixon did, and Bob Woodward is on it, as Bob Woodward explains to Wolf Blitzer. Let's listen.
Well, they're not happy at all, and some people kind of, said, look, we don't see eye to eye on this. They never really said, though, afterwards they've said that this is factually wrong, and it was said to me in an email by a top...
What was said, yeah.
It was said very clearly, you will regret doing this.
Who sent that email to you?
Well, I'm not going to say.
Was it a senior person at the White House?
A very senior person. And just as a man, I mean, it makes me very uncomfortable to have the White House telling reporters, you're going to regret doing something that you believe in, and even though we don't look at it that way, you do look at it that way. And I think if Barack Obama knew that was part of the communications strategy, let's hope it's not a strategy, but that it's a tactic that somebody's employed, say, look, we don't go around trying to say to reporters, if you, in an honest way, present something we don't like, that you're going to regret this. Just
Bob,
it's Mickey Mouse.
So there's Bob Woodward. Now notice even in the soundbite, he's trying to protect Obama. He's saying, I think if Barack Obama knew that was part of the community, are you kidding me? Barack Obama exudes this. He kneecaps the opposition. Look what he did to Hillary Clinton in 2008. Look what he did to Mitt Romney in 2012. He's got somebody that's an enemy. He takes them out. It is gangster politics. This guy was trained, grew up in Chicago. I mean, this goes right back to Obama. So Bob Woodward is still a card-carrying liberal. It's so ingrained in him that he's still trying to protect Obama. This isn't Obama doing this. This is the people around him. But he says, look, it's Mickey Mouse. It's a Mickey Mouse thing when you have the White House telling reporters you're going to regret doing something. That's a threat from the White House. And so Bob Woodward not happy about that. And, it came in the form of an email. I mean, if it's an email, you got to go with the words on the page. Am I saying they've identified the guy as Gene Sperling? You got some people out there saying, hey, he's a nice guy. He would never threaten somebody. But all Bob Woodward knows is he gets an email. It's in the form of an email, says you are going to regret this. And this comes from a guy, Barack Obama, that kneecaps the opposition. It comes from a guy that accused Mitt Romney of being cruel to his dog and of allowing a guy's wife to die of cancer. So that's what Barack Obama is made of. Now, here's clip number 2, and people are trying to cover for Barack Obama, and they're jumping on Bob Woodward. This is an interesting thing to see. They are such poodles, such lapdogs for Barack Obama, such ministers of propaganda for Barack Obama, that they are landing on Bob Woodward like a falling safe. He is an icon in journalism, but he is committing blasphemy. He is committing idolatry by criticizing the Lord and Savior Barack Obama, and they can't have it. So they are jumping all over. They're jumping all over Bob Woodward. They're all up in his kitchen getting after him because all he's doing is telling the truth about Barack Obama. In fact, I want to grab that soundbite next if I can. Where is that? I got to play that one next. It's Rob, it's another Bob Woodward, or it's about Bob Woodward. Where is that clip? Give me a minute, and because I want to find that, unless somehow we lost that. Where is that clip? Oh, yeah, clip 20. Rob, see if you can find clip 20. It's a Chuck Todd clip. Now, what's instructive about this, Chuck Todd is talking about this Woodward thing and this dust-up over whose idea the sequester was. And he says one of the most revealing things that I have ever heard, and he doesn't even know he's doing it. But he said one of the most revealing things I've ever heard somebody in the mainstream media say or admit. Now, we're going to listen. We're going to listen to what Chuck say again, Rob. We shall. Okay, it's the Chuck Todd, Woodward becomes, etc. You're going to love this. We may have some technical difficulties with the clip because I've had it in the queue for a few days. I loaded it up earlier this week. And so if we can play it for you, it's extremely revealing about where the mainstream media is coming from, because Chuck Todd makes what is really a pretty damning admission about the mainstream media. So here is Chuck Todd talking about Bob Woodward, and listen to what he says has to happen, or what happens when a member of the media tells the truth. All somebody has to do if they're in the media is tell the truth, and this is what they become. Let's listen.
So if you're in charge of Speaker Boehner's or Senator McConnell's press shop, Woodward is a storyline you couldn't have crafted better yourself right now. Republicans this weekend were almost giddy over the giant gift they were handed in Woodward.
There's a Bob Woodward piece in the Post this morning that gives the tick-tock about who really the idea for sequestration was.
Woodward says it was President Obama who proposed and promoted the sequester.
Bob Woodward's got a great piece where he tells the president, basically, he doesn't use these words, but he basically says the president has amnesia about this.
So Woodward became the spokesperson for the Republicans over the weekend.
You catch that? What Chuck Todd said there, the last soundbite there, that Bob Woodward, simply by speaking the truth, became the spokesperson for the Republicans. In other words, what Chuck Todd is saying, he doesn't even understand what a revealing admission this is. In other words, all you have to do is start telling the truth, and once you do that, you become a spokesman for the conservative movement. I mean, the left is so steeped in lies, spin, distortion, falsehood, deception. They're completely wrapped around the axle believing and peddling this series of lies. I mean, this sequester thing, we'll talk about that. This sequester thing, a perfect example. It's all hype. It's all fiction. It's all imagination. So the radical thing Chuck Todd says is, hey, if you want to become a spokesman for the conservative movement, just start telling the truth. And that's exactly what we will accuse you of being. We will accuse you of being a spokesman for the Republican Party. So that to me is a pretty amazing thing. You want to become, all you got to do to be accused by the left, let me put it this way. All you have to do to be accused by the left of being a spokesman for the conservative cause is to tell the truth. And Chuck Todd just admitted it. Number to call if you want to join the conversation, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840 is the number to call. Remember I don't know what I did with that. What did I do with that? I got an email from a listener about, remember I was talking about playing with dolls the other day? And the guy said, hey, I played with dolls when I was a kid. It was about 8-10 inches high. Had combat fatigues, G.I. Joe. You could put a grenade in his hand, rocket launcher. I played with dolls all the time, back in 2.